Hey everyone, time for market stats and MOFIRS. And we're going to go into rent versus own today. And Gary Keller had presented some really compelling slides at Mega Camp, and I wanted to just dissect those just a little bit further as you think about your consult around buyers, our perspective on what the market is and what it is short term versus long term, and this always debated thing, rent versus own. And so I'm going to pull some slides up here from Mega Camp, and let's take a peek at this. And so as we dig in, I'm going to start here. And so rents rising rapidly with inflation. So you can see the trend as we go back to 2000, all the way up today, and the absolutely increasing rents. We have also seen always increasing appreciation in real estate over the long trend. And so, is real estate a hedge against inflation? And what kind of investment is that? Now, keep in mind, we're going to go back to 2011. So it's into 2011. Let's say you decide to purchase a home at 166,000. Well, you locked that in. That purchase price was secured as values went up. Well, if you go back to 2011 and you secured something to rent and you kept renting it, your cost of home ownership kept going up, or should I say home rentership kept going up. And now as we look at this rent versus own analysis that they did, all this was kept in consideration. What were average rents over these years? And also what were interest rates and holding costs? And if I refinanced once or twice, what impact did that have on my home ownership? So when we look at this graph, owning versus renting and investing versus renting and 10% investing. Now, so what is this? Now, it assumes we bought at the beginning of 2012. And so we would have taken our 10% down payment, and then this assumes we sold that year. So the owning part is what would happen if we sold this year. So I would actually be, down a little bit. I would get 99.80 out of the sale. Now, if I had just rented and invested the difference in the payment between rent versus own, I would have had at the end of the year 26,472, and it assumes that additional money was invested in S&P 500 index fund. It's like a Vanguard fund. And then now if I had only invested 10% of the difference, I would have had 22,700. So let's see what happens. You can see what happens over the course of time. And even if we take out the crazy years of 20 and 21, what happens if I sold at the end of 2019 after selling costs, including my holding costs, for owning that property? I would have walked away with $121,419. If I had rented, rents had escalated, and I invested the difference, I would have had about 79,000. And if I only invested 10% of the difference between my mortgage payment and my rental payment, I'd have had 53,000. So even if you take the crazy years of 2020 and 2021 out of the equation, and yet who's not to say that you're going to be in a cycle where you're going to have an upside like that if you own a property for 10 years. And in this case, somebody that's stuck around for the upside now in 2021 sold that same house and netted 206,000. And of course, in times when we had record stock markets, this person got 124,000, and what they were able to do with the investing of that money that otherwise was going to be put down on the house, and they invested the difference between rent versus own payments. Now we know there's more maintenance cost things that can happen with a house, improvements that you make, and yet it's a compelling reason for us to say rent versus own. I think it's own. It's a forced savings. It's a hedge against inflation. It's this opportunity to say I've locked in my housing cost, and we go back to, and of course interest rates are up right now, but marry the house, date the rate. So what's a MOFIR around this? even if you take the crazy times of 2020, 2021, it was still more advantageous to be in home ownership versus renting. And so I would build a MOFR, and even it might even be, hey, interest rates are up. Yes, it's and still owning a home historically is the best hedge against inflation. Find, set a no obligation, consultation or strategy session to find out why. In fact, and you can use these slides. These are, if you'll go find these mega camp slides on KW Connect, just look up mega camp or look up Gary Keller, and you'll find these slides, and it'll be market update, and go put these to work. Build your message about possibilities. Now, keep in mind, now these prices, many of our markets are so different. We've got extreme high end, we got moderate, and so I was using national statistics here for rent, and yet in our markets we've seen maybe even higher than national increases in some of our rents, and yet this is a good baseline for the conversation. So I trust this is helpful. Remember, it's the person with the right MOFRs communicated to the most amount of people that is going to generate the most opportunity in our market today. So keep MOFRizing. We'll see you soon.